Tonight, a site near Port Lincoln receives the green light to launch test rockets. And the COVID saga continues, restrictions are back and another exposure site identified in South Australia.
From our 7 Spencer Golf Studios, your nightly news with Ruby Kamain begins now.
Good evening. A South Australian space company has officially been granted a licence to test launch 3 rockets by the end of the year. The Whalers Way site near Port Lincoln, allowing the rockets to be safely launched over the Great Australian Bight.
Nationwide excitement taking off for South Australian space company Southern Launch.
This is an incredible achievement for Australia and for the little company that is Southern Launch.
The company given the green light from the federal government to launch 3 test rockets from Whalers Way.
I am so looking forward to the day when you do what's known as polling, right? You're standing there in launch control going, all right, rocket, are you a go? Go!
The company receiving its first of several licences required for rocket launches to be undertaken. Southern Launch CEO Lloyd Damp pleased the first step is out of the way.
Further engagement with the Australian Space Agency, emergency services, you name it. So, small but critical step is now out of the way.
The first launch pad in Whalers Way nearing completion, with the first of 3 launches from the site scheduled for the next few months.
Hang of a lot of activity going on behind the scenes now to prepare to do rocket launches.
The company now working closely with the Environment Protection Authority as well as the Department for Environment and Water.
So that when the rockets do lift off, we have a very accurate representation of how the local environment responds.
Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Preemptive restrictions will return in South Australia amid growing concerns over the COVID-19 outbreaks in neighbouring states. From midnight tonight, entertainment venues are restricted to 50% density, with masks compulsory for aged care, prisons and personal health centres. Singing and dancing are also prohibited. Premier Stephen Marshall says they're trying to avoid another lockdown, which could cripple the economy.
Now's the time for people to realise that we cannot be complacent in South Australia. We're seeing a deteriorating situation now in Queensland and in Victoria.
2 new COVID cases were reported in South Australia today, while New South Wales had 65. Meanwhile, a third COVID exposure site has been identified relating to the removalists who entered the state while infectious. Anyone who has been to the OTR Motorsport Park service station just outside Tailem Bend between 7:20am to 8:15am last Friday is urged to self-isolate and get tested. Authorities are still trying to piece together the journey of the removalists from the Victorian border to McLaren Vale. Over 200 people are currently in isolation. A Waiala man has been arrested and charged after spending days on the run. Officers arrested 38-year-old Nathan Pedler last night in Whyalla. He was charged with failing to comply with bail conditions along with other matters. Mr Pedler faced the Whyalla Magistrates Court this afternoon. A severe weather warning has been issued for most parts of the state for damaging winds and heavy rainfall. It's triggered a code blue response for much of the region, including Port Lincoln, for people sleeping rough over the coming days.
A vigorous cold front set to lash much of the region over the next 48 hours, triggering a code blue response.
We'll start to see some significant weather developing about the far west and Eyre Peninsula of South Australia.
The extreme weather response activated up until Monday, with support services offering extra assistance to those who are sleeping rough. West Coast Youth and Community Support Service checking on the community's most vulnerable throughout the night.
We'll provide after hours, really assertive outreach, so out and about on the streets late at night, just checking into any known rough sleeping locations to see if there is anybody that needs some support and some help.
The next few days and nights are of particular concern, as Port Lincoln has seen an increase in homelessness.
But honestly, at any time anyone's rough sleeping, it's a concern to me and everybody that works here.
Severe wind gusts also forecast for the region.
Gusts up to 90 and in excess of 90 kilometres an hour starting to develop late in the day.
The State Emergency Service urging locals to tie down any loose items that have the potential to fly away and cause damage to properties. while Joe Clark says the office door is always open during the day for those struggling.
The office is a warm place and anyone can come during the day to get a warm drink, something to eat, as well as some warm clothes to wrap up.
The centre is always appreciative of any warm clothing donations during the winter months. Dylan Smith, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Alex Sykes will have more details on the wild weather later in the bulletin. Whyalla City Council is asking for the public's assistance to help find a much-loved Gala. The bird went missing over the weekend, with carers devastated over his disappearance and now concerned for his well-being.
It's a sight that'll bring a tear to any fan of the well-known Gala at Ada Ryan Gardens. Named Good Boy, a staple at the aviary, now missing after a reported break-in at the bird cages over the weekend.
Very devastating, not only for the staff down here, but also the community.
The pink and grey Gala, a resident for decades and has a strong bond with park staff. Carers describing Good Boy as very friendly, who enjoys having a yarn to visitors and regulars alike.
The guys down here have grown a bond with him for over 15 to 20 years. We have regular community come down to feed him on many occasions throughout the week. It's very, very disappointing for the Whyalla community.
Matt Rotherham says the thieves pilfered the bird by breaking the chains leading into the cage. He wants Good Boy back in the aviary with the rest of his flock as soon as possible.
If he's out in the wild, he's not used to eating by himself or feeding by himself. Here the guys feed him once every morning, so his chances are pretty slim to be out in the wild.
Anyone with information is urged to contact council or police so Good Boy can be reunited with his other friends. Mark Zeta, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
Still to come tonight, a huge turnout at a Port Augusta community meeting pushing to change the budget. And major upgrades set for a Port Pirie sports complex. See you again after the break. Welcome back. The looming rise in council rates continues to be the main conversation in Port Augusta. Many community members saying they're concerned about their livelihoods, with the town meeting allowing for suggestions to fix the potential problem.
Port Augusta councillors, facing more than 100 community members, fed up with the proposed 2021 budget, standing up to openly reject the change, with a potential 20% council rate increase on the horizon.
The clear message that came out of this from the ratepayers in attendance to the mayor and to the other councillors who are here is that the ratepayers do not want them to accept the budget as it is at the moment.
The residents believing that the increased rates are not for council services, but only to reduce the operating deficit. The community proposing ideas for alternative income, such as paid parking at the airport, reduced operating costs for the council, and paid entry into the Arid Land Botanic Gardens.
We need to see if we can get some assistance in areas where ratepayers pay for Arid Lands, for example, our airport, ratepayers pay for that.
Community members also drawing attention to the absence of the city manager at the event. Mayor Bembo saying the council's budget is supposed to be accepted before August 31st, but an extension is possible due to the current circumstances.
Will state or federal government just give us more money? That's not the real process. But there are certain things that the mayor has made very clear that he would like to have the state government look, and I will be front and centre in those discussions.
Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The Sport and Recreation Minister has made a stop in Port Pirie, meeting with council and local volunteers before upgrades commence at a popular sporting complex. Corey Wingard says it's part of the state government's push to get more people active.
A country boy at heart, Minister Wingard happy to be back in Port Pirie.
Look, it's always great getting out and about and seeing the projects that need to be done and working with the local community. So having a look at before, if you like, and then we can come back after and see the finished product is really exciting, and the community should be excited about this project.
It's been a few years in the making, but finally the Senate Road Sporting Complex, home to junior soccer, will soon receive new upgraded toilet facilities as well as a cricket pitch and nets, thanks to $255,000 in funding.
We've been looking at it for a couple of years now, wondering what we can do with junior soccer particularly, but I mean, just making another sports precinct because sport is really important for our community.
The Sport and Recreation Minister says it's part of the state government's push to getting more people active, saying new amenities will help encourage locals to get out and about.
Having these sorts of facilities that are appealing and right-sized for the community is so important. And again, we can see the toilet facilities here. They're not up to scratch, they're not up to standard, so we need to make sure that we have the accessible facilities for people to be able to use.
Upgrade works are expected to get underway soon. Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Cinema Augusta has been allocated new funding through the government's Screen Fund. Workers at the Port Augusta Favourites say the money will help keep the doors open to the public.
Keeping the projectors rolling at Cinema Augusta. The popular spot allocated $35,000 as part of the $20 million government fund for regional cinemas.
No new movies to show, restrictions on who could come to movies, seating plans, all those things. So they were bleeding red ink. And a bit like we stepped in to help the tourist operators, we stepped in to help these independent cinemas.
The Screen Fund already allocating $8.7 million to 158 independent cinemas across Australia. Lincoln Cinema and statewide Cinema Kadina have also received $35,000.
The cinema remains an outing for families, for children. I know quite a few Probus clubs that go to the cinema together. So it's a community thing, and then people just sometimes you just really want to see the big screen rather than the little screen.
The member for Grey says the grants would support the recovery of independent cinemas from significant revenue declines during COVID-19.
With the closure of COVID, it's made it very difficult to keep our staff on. So without it, we just wouldn't have managed to survive. We would have closed our doors. It's the hub of the community. Without cinema, all of the kids have got nowhere to go.
Screen Fund applications are open until December 24 or until total funds are committed. Edward McCarroll, 7 Spencer Golf News.
Stay with us after the break. Port Pirie students warm up their vocal cords for a musical of many colours. And nominations open for the Hammock Hill Art Prize. See you shortly. Hello again. St Mark's College students are gearing up for their upcoming musical performance of Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat. With only a few weeks until opening night, the director says he's proud to see the show come together.
Preparing to take a show of many colours to the stage.
I'm really excited. Starting to feel the nerves a little bit because we're a few weeks out and it's like, last minute learning of words and blocking and everything like that.
These St Mark's College students venturing into the world of Joseph and the amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat, bringing the biblical story to life through acting, singing and dancing to a range of musical genres that will leave you on the edge of your seat.
We have been putting in so much work behind the scenes, so many rehearsals. Some of the senior members of the cast have been going down to the primary school to help the little kids with the singing and the dancing.
Director Greg Hay says he's proud to see the musical come together.
They draw their creativity and their love for music and their support for one another to bring ensemble to the stage. So I'm very proud to see it all unfold.
There will be 5 shows in early August, with the community encouraged to show their support and secure their ticket.
It'll connect to 5-year-olds to 95-year-olds, so it's got a general appeal. Lasts for about an hour and a half, and we would expect the community to support it. Yeah, it's a great show.
Katrina Musson, 7 Spencer Golf News.
After a long hiatus, the Hammock Hill Art Prize has returned, showcasing what the region has to offer. For the relaunch, organisers are now opening the competition up to more artists living in the Spencer Gulf.
It's a competition 5 years in the making. The Hammock Hill Art Prize returning to Whyalla after awarding its last artist in 2016.
We were going to have one in 2020, but due to COVID that got postponed, so we're really excited to be able to have one happening this year in 2021.
The winning prize, $1,500 to the artwork judged as the cream of the crop. Art Group President May Walker-Jeffries saying it's important for the community to be able to enter and showcase local artworks in their own backyard.
People that live in a radius of like 250 kilometres from Kimber, basically, you could draw a compass around that, and they're the people that can enter this prize.
Apart from the top prize, there will also be a Young Emerging Artist Award, an Industrial Art Prize, and the People's Choice Award. The group, eager to embrace modern art, with digital artworks now eligible to enter.
Because everything's changing in the world as far as the art scene's concerned, and you have to be inclusive. Everybody has to be inclusive.
The exhibition will open to the public on Friday, October 8. Entry information and contact details are available on the Whyalla Art Group's Facebook page. Mark Zeta, 7 Spencer Gulf News.
The search is on to find South Australia's Agricultural Town of the Year. The award recognising South Australian towns which are excelling in agriculture and the flow-on effects on the community. Nominated towns will then be put to a public vote to help select 5 finalists to win the award. Nominations close Friday, August 6, with the winner to be announced at the 2021 Regional Showcase Celebration event in November. Last year's winner was the Mallee town of Pinnaroo. Stay with us after the break. We'll find out what's biting out in Spencer Gulf waters this weekend. And we'll have the weather details with Alex Sykes. Welcome back. If you're planning to drop a line out in the waters this weekend, here are our fishing experts with their tips.
Well, last weekend was a bit of a hard task for us to all get out and try a boat or whatever, but this has really stirred up some beautiful fishing for us. Before we went to our blowy weekend, we had a lot of salmon trout in the Port Broughton River area, and these things are up to about 2 kilos, so they're still floating around the place. They will hang around for a little bit longer, so if you want to go in close this weekend, start there, because I think this weather's going to be around a little while for us. A lot of us have been trying to bury weed. If you want to go in through the Barrows Beach area, you should be able to find yourself a nice King George whiting over that. I wouldn't venture out to the Eastern Shoal and all that sort of stuff just in case the weather cages you, but Third Creek Patches and Woods Point will certainly give you a good return for this week for King George. And don't forget, we've got those squid out there still. Keep your jags over, and every spot you're fishing for whiting, there's gonna be squid. That's all we got this week. We'll see you next week.
Hi, Whyallah's fishing tips this week. Sunday the weather's starting to fine up, so that's definitely the day to get amongst it all. For the boats, down towards the Stick have been the best areas for the squid. Also a few garfish in the area as well. A little bit further around the bay for King George whiting, definitely the best areas to target have been the Marricks, Tyre Reef and Boilers. Again, the Eastern Shoal still producing some nice fish. Land-based around Whyalla, the Point Lowly to Fitzgerald Bay coastline has been holding good numbers of squid and some nice garfish down by the old bus.
G'day and welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Augusta, Jewel North. There's been a fair bit of wind on, so that'll stir the water up a little bit, trying a little bit shallow for silver whiting, and also there's been a little bit of rain, so you could try up around the creeks and the runoffs, Chinamans Creek, Port Patterson, and even up around towards the train bridge as well. There's been a few kingfish sighted up around the train bridge at the top of the Gulf, and also down around Port Patterson, and also in around the old powerhouse area. King George whiting, they've been a bit patchy. There's been a couple on the shacks there, but not a real lot. Squid, as you expect at this time of year, just about everywhere at the moment. And the odd flounder or flathead are getting caught. That's all we have from the Jewel of the North.
G'day, welcome to this week's fishing tips from Port Lincoln. Starting up the coast around Tumby Bay, the fishing inshore's been really good. The whiting are a little bit hit and miss this week. There's still a few squid around at the town jetty. The numbers around there have been pretty good. Moving back down towards Port Lincoln, it's a similar story inside the bay. The squid fishing has been really good off the town jetty in places out of the wind. Moving down to the south coast, the salmon have been really good down there, especially when the swell's down. Out Coffin Bay side of things, the salmon have been doing pretty well out there too. Almonte and Gunya have been producing fish up to 3 kilo. That's about it for this week. We'll see you again next week.
Time now to take a look at what's happening in the weather with Alex Sykes. And Alex, as we heard earlier, wild weather is on the way.
Yeah, that's right, Ruby. A vigorous cold front will hit the region over the next 48 hours. The Bureau warning of damaging winds and heavy rainfall, gusty showers and thunderstorms developed in a northwesterly airflow today, which is set to continue into Friday. From 3 p.m. today, Port Lincoln was 16, Broken Hill and Woodner both 18 degrees. Looking further out now, Port Augusta and Cooper Pedy were 21, Whyalla was 22, Port Pirie reached 19, Adelaide, Kadina and Cleve all were 18, Clare 15. Taking a look at the satellite image now, cloud moving over central and eastern districts with a trough associated with a deep low south of the Bight is bringing gusty showers and thunderstorms. Skies are clear in the west and far north with a drier air mass. Moving on to tomorrow's weather outlook now, and we'll start with the Gulf waters. Northwesterly winds 15 to 20 knots, seas 1 to 2 metres, and south to southwesterly swell 1 metre. The wild weather continues. Port Lincoln 15 tomorrow, Clee 14 and Woodness set to reach 16 degrees. Whale and Port Augusta both 18, Kadina 15, Port Pirie 17, Clare 11 and Broken Hill 16 degrees. Taking a look at the weekend forecast now, showers across most parts on Saturday, except for Cooper Pedy, Broken Hill, Port Augusta and Whale, where it'll be partly cloudy, temperatures in the low to mid-teens. Similar conditions again on Sunday, showers for Port Pirie, Kadina, Adelaide and Port Lincoln, cloudy everywhere else. And looking into next week now, cloudy across the region on Monday, except for in Adelaide, Port Lincoln and Kadina. And that's all the weather from me for tonight. I hope everyone enjoys the last of the school holidays and this wild weather doesn't put a damper on things too much. This rain is just relentless, Ruby, for the next few days, isn't it?
It sure is, Alex. And that's the local news this Thursday evening. Thanks for joining us. I'll have updates later. Until then, enjoy your evening, and myself and the team will see you again tomorrow. Good night.